All right, so I just wanted to do a quick video on the power of markers inside Premiere Pro, as I've just recently learned some new things that you could do with markers, or some functionality about the markers that I was not aware of. And I'm pretty familiar with Premiere Pro, been using it for years, and was just one of those things that I'd never really tapped into. And as a precursor to this information, this is going to be more applicable for big projects where you have a lot of footage. Maybe your project has taken place over several weeks of filming, and you really need to utilize all the organization that you can to be efficient once you finally get down to doing the final version of that project. That's where this is really going to come into handy. So I've got a project open here that actually is probably not the best example of when you would use markers like this, but you'll see what I'm talking about. So I've got a clip open right here, and I've got a sequence open here, and both of them have markers. And the markers are nested either within a clip or within the sequence that you place them on. So starting from the most basic of how you would use markers, say I'm working in this clip and I've got a spot that I want to add a marker to. I'll just tap an M once to add the marker, and if I tap it again, that will open a box where I can name that marker, walking away. And I'm going to designate that marker color to be red, since I know that all of her clips are marked red. And if I wanted to get more specific, I could say more about what's happening here. Okay. Now going one step further, another thing you can do to further utilize this marker and really identify the part of the clip that you're talking about is I can say Option click on that marker, and it now lets me expand it out for the duration of that little segment that I'm talking about. Now obviously that was too far out, so I'm just going to back up a little bit, and I can use my arrow keys to go frame by frame, or shift arrow key to go 10 frames at a time. Looks like I'm going to start it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to make sure I can be more accurate. So that marker should start right about there and end right there. Just an example here. All right, minus to zoom back out. So now I have added that marker, I've colored it, I've given it some content that I can search. So that's now usable information that will help me find this piece later a lot easier than just scrolling through that clip or scrolling through a bunch of clips trying to find that. And this is where the real power comes in of using markers and coloring them and adding a name or some content to go along with them, is in your ability to search that information. So if I go here to my project panel, I've got these two little arrows right here that give me some other options of windows that I can open, and markers is right here. So once I'm in this markers window, if I have my clip highlighted, it's going to show me all of the markers that I have marked on that clip. And if I want to search just the ones of the girl with the pink shirt, for example, then I would click red, because I have all of hers marked red, and it's just going to show me those red marked markers. Or I can uncheck that. I know that I've got all of my scenery type shots marked in green. So I've got here a truck passes, Jeep passes, cruising by the river. So when I click those, the playhead jumps to all those points in this clip, and that allows me to go right to the spot that I want and mark an in and out point, drag it to the timeline. Just a really efficient way to search that clip content and information, and use that in your project. Now note that you're not going to be able to search all of the markers in your entire project, meaning if I go back to my project window, I've got several clips. I can't just search all of the markers in all of these clips at one time. I have to actually pick a single clip or a single sequence and search that way. So a better way to organize your project in order to take the best advantage of this would be to create sequences instead of just having markers on each of your individual clips. So if I had a bigger project than this, and say I had 10 different scenes, I would make a sequence for each one of those scenes, or maybe a sequence with several different shots for a specific interview. Then I can go to that named sequence and then go through it and add markers for the specific content in that sequence. You know, this sequence might be longboarding around the river, for example. And I could add a marker for she's crossing the crosswalk. She steps onto the board. wide shot facing the camera, behind shot, shot with me in the picture. So again, instead of having to scroll and look for those each time, I can just go into that markers window with my project highlighted, and then I can search. I don't actually have the markers named, and this is a bad example. I'll go back to that clip and just show you. If I uncheck my green, then I've got all the markers, and I could go and search girl, if I can spell it right. So then everything that I've named girl comes up. Or I know I've got a shot with a truck, I could just type truck, and the one shot that I have with the truck comes up. I know that I've got some people shots that are marked orange. So if I check orange and delete my truck criteria there, then I get all of my people shots that come up. There's some girls walking by, a bike dude, a girl running, and we got this dude on this tricycle thing. Yeah, so if you organize your project right, it can be really, really helpful to utilize markers in this way to name your content in the marker and then color it and be able to search that content and pull those clips out once you know where you've got them placed in the sequences, because I think that's the best way to use this, is create sequences with scenes or with groups of content and then add markers to that sequence. Then you can just open that sequence, search the markers, bam, you've got easy access to all of your identified content you can put into one final project. So I was pretty excited about that when I learned that that was a new way I could organize content, because when you're going through a lot of footage, it can be really tedious to just pull different clips and scrub through it. This is much more efficient. So really a neat feature in Premiere Pro to be able to organize and search your content like that through the power of markers. So there you go. Hope that's helpful.